This one is from Cleveland, Ohio, from Allie.
Hi, Rich and Adam. My name's Allie. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and it's certainly okay for you to put this on the air. My question for you is what your relationship is to money. And I know that you briefly touched on this in the last episode, but I graduated college a little over a year ago, and I actually decided to pursue a career in finance because I know that it can be, A, lucrative. I have student loans to pay off and goals of my own. But B, I understand that it's really important for people to have a solid financial plan backing them so that they can actually reach their goals. But at what point is it too much to be saving, too much for retirement or caring too much about what you have in the bank so you can do things in the future and, choosing to live your life now? Because I feel like I'm very, very frugal right now with the hope that in the next few years I can do more of what I want to do, but it certainly takes away from the sort of purpose I want to have in my life right now because I'm so focused on saving and acquiring money for the future. Thanks, Rich and Adam. Love you guys.
Thanks for your question. You sound like a very responsible person.
Totally.
Much more responsible than I was.
She would have had nothing to do with me when I was 20.
Yeah. It's a great question. I think that it's important to be fiscally responsible as a young person and to develop healthy habits around money at a young age and a healthy respect for what it can and can't do.
I respect that she paid her way through college.
Yeah, it's incredible,
amazing.
Right? Anybody who does that, celebrate that person right there. And I think it's perfectly acceptable and laudable to pursue a career path that will provide you with financial stability. I suspect if she paid for her own college, that she might be coming from a background in which it wasn't as financially stable as she would have liked. And people who come from that background are going to be the people who are more likely to pursue a conventional career path that's going to provide them with the financial stability that they lacked. I'm just projecting, but it sounds like that might be the case here.
Yeah,
100% understandable that she would want that and need that because if that's the case, that was lacking beforehand.
Yeah,
I think what she's getting at and what's important to reckon with here is this idea. Well, I'm going to create financial stability for myself, and I'm going to defer those things that I really want to do for the sake of creating that foundation. The idea behind that is perfectly fine, like I said, but the fear is that you never get to the purpose part, right? Because what happens, and I've seen this a million times, I saw it in law school with people who are like, I'm going to go into, I'm going to go work. A lot of people go to law school because they want to help humans in certain ways, like in a nonprofit context. But then you accumulate all this debt.
Right.
And these law firms come along and they're dangling six-figure starting salaries. And people say, well, I'm just going to go do the corporate law thing for a couple of years, pay off my debt, and then I'm going to go do the thing. And what happens more often than not is you acclimate to that salary and you start to create a lifestyle that only that salary will afford. Mm-hmm. And there's a keeping up with the Joneses thing that starts to occur. And before you know it, you're leasing a car that you can't quite afford and you're in a mortgage, and all these things then make you stuck in a career path, and it makes it more and more difficult to then shift gears and pursue that passion, purposeful life that you had aspirations for as a young person. So the good news is you're super young, your whole life is ahead of you. Pursue that career path in finance, create that foundation of financial stability. But I would strongly suggest, not that you're not doing this already, but that you live as minimally as possible and refrain from any of those expenses that later on can prevent you from being nimble with your career. It sounds like you're good at saving money, which is fantastic. And also to remember that it's important to invest in experience, right? If you keep your overhead low, you create choices for yourself and flexibility with your career path, and you have the ability to invest in experiences, whether those are trips or learning things that you want to learn in your life, career, other hobbies, things like that. As long as you can do that, then you then have the freedom to make those changes later on in life.
It's really great advice. The only thing I'd add to that
I didn't do any of those things as a young person.
Me?
I didn't.
You didn't?
Yeah.
No. Well, you were a dashing swimmer at Stanford.
No, but I made a lot of mistakes that I wish I could change. So my message to young people is always like live lean,
right?
And try to protect that ability to be flexible and nimble.
I think that's right. And I think that's great advice. And it seems like she's on that path. It doesn't seem like she's acquiring a whole lot at this point.
Right.
But I would say that this craving for purpose is real, and FOMO is real. And sometimes we're so attached back to the consumption, but so attached to our phones, and we see people living lives of so-called purpose or having these experiences that are like, bucket list type experiences, and she's like grinding it out, saving money. First of all, a lot of that is false. It's not as great or ideal as it looks like. So don't you got to make sure to check yourself. I'm not saying that she is indulging in or subject to FOMO. We all are at some level. But the other thing I would say is purpose doesn't have to be sensible career or purpose. It can be both, and your purpose doesn't have to be your sensible career. And in the interim, I think purpose is going to be really important for you to be able to get through kind of grinding weeks that are harder to get through. And one way of doing that is volunteering or finding some way to connect with something that you do care about. So I would say that there are ways to mitigate that in the interim before you kind of make that nimble jump. I
think that's a really important point. And we think of like purpose in this binary context. Like you're either in this financially secure career or you're living this purpose-driven,
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way, and it's not that way. You can find purpose in anything that you're doing, in any pursuit. And if you feel bereft of that in your particular career choice, you can find purpose in just trying to be of maximum service to the people that you report to,
right? Or
just doing the best job that you can.
Absolutely. You can like zen in on the actions you're taking at work. You can, volunteer as a literacy coach or something like that, or help people with finances that might need help, or people in trouble with their mortgages, whatever it might be. Yeah. And, but thanks for the question. It's a good one.
Cool.